Okay. Hello and good evening sa ating mga kaibigan. Si Attorney Ahmed ay on the way. Galing sa meeting in Tawon, Looy. Kasi maulan ngayon. Sino bang mga nabutan ng ulan? Sino mga taga Manila nabutan ng ulan? So, tayo ay ansamantalang magsusolo. Pero, darating yan. Sabi niya sa akin, ha? Hindi na sumasagot. Kaninang 9:30, sumasagot pa. So, who is here? Good evening, Nori. Nandito na si Feisty. Si Pinoy Paparazzi, ang ganyan. Sino pa? Okay. Si True Lies, magandang gabi. So, ang ating topic ay sabi natin, mahalaga pa ba yung Filipino ownership sa media na nakalagay sa atin sa Ligang Batas, no? Does it still make sense at this time na available naman sa atin lahat, no? Available natin yung sa atin yung news galing sa YouTube. Available galing sa atin yung mga galing sa cable. Meron tayong nakukuhang kopya ng mga newspapers sa ibang bansa through the internet. So why do we need Filipino ownership? Mayong gabi, True Lies. What do you think is the reason why we need it? Hindi ka na kamukha ni Pen Medina. Hindi na nga. Kasi mas okay ba 'yon? Natulog kasi ako sa barbero eh. Tapos pagising ko ganyan na. So woke up like this. Thank you sa mga mga kasama natin ngayong gabi. Sana kaya sa Attorney Ahmed. Text nga natin. Pre, nasan ka na? Anyway, so habang wala si Attorney Ahmed, sige, ito yung natin. Kasi may nagtatanong sa akin kung pwede na bang mag-input yung mga listeners. Okay? Sino may gusto? Habang naghihintay si Attorney Ahmed, kasi itong system namin, dalawa lang yung aming kayang ipasok. So habang wala siya, sinong gusto? Para i-send ko sa inyo yung naka-winter sa hell no, sinipon si Attorney. Sino gusto? Irene, alam mo yun, yun yung kagandahan sa print kasi hindi nakikita yung mukha mo. Pero sabi ni ni Makluhan, ano pang first name? Marshall Makluhan. Sabi niya, pag lalaki daw yung anchor or yung nasa news, mas maganda daw kapag pangit. Pero pag babae, kailangan maganda. Bakit? Bakit daw? Sige, hulaan yung bakit. Sige nga, hula. Sino gusto mag-live, magsabi dyan. Sisend ko sa inyo yung link so that I can put you up and then kung meron kayong tanong, i-discuss natin. Rocky, hindi mo napansin Rocky, no? Ikaw kasi hindi ka tumitingin eh, nakikinig ka lang eh. Di ba? Parang radyo lang. So, bakit daw sabi ni Marshall Makluhan? Sabi ni Marshall Makluhan, ang mga babae daw kasi kapag nakakakita ng magandang babae, na-attract pa rin sila dun. At hindi sila na insecure. Tama ba yun? Karamihan sa mga natin dito, mga babae. Pero, yung mga lalaki, kapag nakakakita ng pogi na nandiyan sa TV, pinapanood ng asawa niya, ng girlfriend niya, galit na siya doon, kahit na walang kasalanan. Kaya, sabi ni Marshall Makluhan, kung ikaw ay TV network, mas maigi na maglagay ka dyan ng mga anchor na medyo weirdo ang dating. Tinan mo si papangalan ba tayo? Sige, sa GMA, sino ang mga ganyan na kategorya? Tingnan nyo, mga Ivan Mayrina, walang chance. Mga pogi, mga matatangkad, matipuno, walang chance. Pero tingnan mo yung, hindi tayo magsasabi. Kasi sasabihan tayo na mga, anong tawag dyan? Yung mga discrimination, no? may ano tayo, discrimination sa meron bang ano, discrimination sa pangit? Wala naman ata. Pwede mo ba discriminate yung pangit? Hindi yun. Oh, ikaw nagsabi niyan ha. Hindi ako. Oo. Kayo nagsabi niyan, dalawa na yung sinasabi niyo. Pero totoo, di ba? Oh, yung dati pang vice president. Oh, may vice president pa tayo, di ba? May iba din yung dating nun. Hindi rin yun ano, hindi rin yun na yung tipong masasabi mo na teka, compare natin ha. Yung mga tipong James Deakin, oh. Sinong kakakilala kay James Deakin? Hmm? Who knows James Deakin? Oh, nasaan si James Deakin yan? Wala na. Di ba? O tinan mo yun si ano, si ano na lang, si dito tayo sa mga vlogger. Sino yung ano, sino yung mga special character yung mga tsura. Wag natin pag-usapan yung ganyan. So, ang pag-uusapan natin, bakit mahalaga yung Filipino ownership sa media. So, actually, ang naka-assign dun sa constitutional provision na yan is si Attorney Ahmed. Now, my role is to discuss yung kahalagahan ng media in society in general. Pero, alam nyo, narinig nyo na to sa akin paulit-ulit. Ang tanong kasi dito, di ba, makita natin na yung the past 2 days na discussions natin, certain persons in media think that they are so high and mighty that they can actually supersede our government, our courts, no? That their opinion is higher than courts. So, does our law or does our legal system also look at them that low, no? Yan yung tanong. May alam ba kayo na manifestation ng pagpapahalaga ng ating systems, ating mga institusyon sa gobyerno sa role ng media sa society natin? So paano natin siya makikita? Is it in the theory? Is it in the books? Is it in the opinion of people? Or expressions of certain presidents na pinapahalagahan nila? Unlike yung itong nakikita natin na talagang blatant na yung sa mga fact check pa lang na diniscuss natin, di ba? Have you been reading yung mga fact check na pinost natin, no? Makikita nyo in one, they ridicule the decisions of the court. Alam mo yun, yung pinagtatagpi-tagpi nila to make it appear like hindi na siya maintindihan, minanggel-manggel. Sometimes in their fact checks, then like the last one that I pointed out, I think that was the one yesterday, no? But itong fact check na to is September 2021 pa, may kinalaman sa Pharmaly. Isipin mo, they feel that they are even superior than the Commission on Audit own interpretation of its role na hindi naman yan, alam mo yun, hindi naman nila yan pinulot. It comes from the Constitution and it's very clear. Hindi siya kailangan i-reinterpret. So, ang sinasabi nila, dapat ito yung ginawa mo kasi yan yung ano. Nakalagay sa Constitution, siya ang magsasabi kung ano yung dapat niyang gawin. Bakit ikaw? Di ba? Mayang gabi, El Junior Napoles, Aldo, Luna, Rocky, sino pa ba? Alam mo, maraming nakikinig sa atin dyan at nanonood. They always choose to be silent. Why? Hindi naman kayo malalibel dito. Go lang! Okay. Junior Napoles, gusto mo ba magtanong? Kasi, habang wala si Attorney Ahmed, pahiram ko yung seat niya. O, sinong gusto? Oy, from Cavite, maganda dyan sa ano to, yung lugar ni President Aguinaldo, anong tawag sa lugar niya? Indang ba yun? Hindi, ano bang anong lugar ni President Aguinaldo? Yung may bahay niya, ang ganda dun. I like that place. Okay. So, sinong gusto magsabi? Kwentuhan mo pa ulit kami ng Kawit. Okay, kawit. Okay, history. Okay, history ito. Okay, this is actually history itong ipapasa ko. Pero, I'm thinking now, what do I do? Kasi it's in my phone. I want to transfer it there. Wait, I will put it in. I think I can share Google Docs. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see if I can share Google Docs. Google Slides. Can I make Google Slides from Google Slides out of JPEGs? Pwede ba yun? Paano ba ito ginagawa itong Google Slides? Mabilis lang ito Okay, wait. Ha? Okay. Pinklawan tayo. Pinklawan. Alam nyo, si Commander kasi ay siyempre mas mataas sa atin yung posisyon. May online meeting. Andun siya. Ako, dito ako sa Pink Room. Pinklawan. Kaya nag-blue naman ako para magmukha tayong Lenny, di ba? Pink na pink. NHCP Museo ni Emilio Aguinaldo. I like that house. It remembers me. It makes me remember of my grandfather's house na winasak na unfortunately. Pero alam mo yung mga kwarto na may mga weird na mga liko-liko doon sa likurang banda ng lamesa ni Aguinaldo. O sino nakarating doon? Kung napansin niyo, may mga weird doon doon sa may mga banyo sa likod-likod na halatang may mga taguan. Nakakatuwa yung mga ganung klaseng bahay, no? Yung mga bahay ng mga matatanda. So, ano nga ba to? What do I do? I upload ko to? Or I'll just pull it up here. Okay, I'll just pull it up here. It's easier. Okay. Now, the history here is, it will bring you back to the year 2000. Ano nga ba to? 2007 minus 3, 2004. Okay, 2004. Oh, sino na sa inyo ang buhay na sa inyong mga isipan noong 2004? Taas mga kamay. At sino na sa inyo ang mga botante at the time? Taas ang kamay. Ha? Okay. So what happened in 2004? So that is approximately what? Ilang taon na yun? 18 years ago? Wow, tanda ko na talaga. So 18 years ago, there was an election in the Philippines. Sige, hulaan nyo. Ano ang pinaka-highlight ng election noong 2000? Ay, hindi ko na. Nagkamali ako. Tama ba ito? 2004 ba ito? Buksan ko na nga lang. Nakakahiya naman ito. Okay. This is Chavez versus Executive Secretary. I think this is the title. Where are you? Ito yung problema talaga, no? Kapag nagmamadali ka lagi. Kasi ang nangyayari sa'yo, cramming. Alam nyo, sa mga estudyante pa dyan, huwag nyo kaming gayahin. Ito yung kasalanan ng aming henerasyon. Kung kailan may exam, dun pa lang kami mag-aaral the night before. Pero alam mo naman na dapat yon. Kaya lang, ang nangyayari kasi is, mamadali tayo lagi. And, okay, search ko na si Chavez versus Executive Secretary. Okay. So, who among you is familiar with this particular decision of the Supreme Court? Chavez, talking about itong si Chavez, Frank Chavez. This case was decided because of that act done by the executive secretary at the time, si Gonzales. Okay, his name was yung matandang Gonzales. Nalala niyo? Justice Secretary pala, hindi siya executive secretary, si Gonzales. And then the NTC and even the KBP, I was still in broadcast at the time. Nagkaroon ng series of orders from Malacanang, and then inorderan nyo na yung police, inorderan yung NBI, pati NTC nagmemo sa lahat ng istasyon. Etong material na to, wag nyong paandarin, o ano yan, wag nyong ipatugtog, wag nyong ipalabas. Sa kahit anong oras, kahit anong istasyon ng radyo, telebisyon sa buong Pilipinas, bawal. O, sino sa inyong mga kahula? Kung anong material yan, ha? And it happened, and you must know this. And the case went up to the Supreme Court at ang nag-file ng case against the authorities who stopped broadcasting entities from even airing it was not even a broadcaster. Ang nag-file ng kaso was an ordinary, he's not an ordinary citizen. He became a congressman, he became a secretary of something, he became head of, si Frank Chavez. Do you still know Frank Chavez? Yeah. Frank Chavez versus Raul Gonzalez, hindi executive secretary. Oh, sige. Oh, alam na niya, no? Okay, what is the subject matter here? This is history, si Rocky Mambago. How old are you ba, Rocky? Kasi may mga matatanda tayong nakikinig dyan. Alam ko, hindi yan nagsasalita. Pero alam niyo yung pinagsasabi ko dito. Sige, pagbigyan natin yung mga bata na manghula. Okay? Naging Solicitor General siya na. Yes, I think so, si Frank Chavez during the time of Cory ba o Ramos? Yeah? Okay. So the title here is Raul, yung mga kalaban niya was Raul Gonzalez in his capacity as Secretary of the Department of Justice and National Telecommunications Commission. Bakit kanila hindi kinasuhan ng KBP dito? Pati yung KBP nag-order nito. Alright? So, may nakaalala na ba sa inyo? 52 ka na. Dapat alam mo ito, Rocky. Ano ka ba? Hindi, wag niyong ipansinin yung pangalan ng nasa case. Pero, the incident that the National Telecommunications Commission, the Justice Secretary who is the boss of NBI, told NBI na kahit sinong media person na magpapatugtog niyan ay huhulihin nyo. Oh, yan, si Suspenders Boy. Oh, yes. Walang makahula. Yun. Doon si Hello. Yarsing. Okay? So that tape, ang backstory niya ganito. When that came out, I was also in media at the time. I got a copy of that tape that material in MP3. So it came from parang cassette tape, and then it was recorded by yung mga intelligence officers, ISAP, no? And then yung material na yun ay kumalat sa media. And bago pa lang alam niyo yung waves na nakikita mo ganun. Yung pag nilabas mo yung waveform ng sounds, no? Pag nag-edit kayo, you're very familiar with this. When you do Vegas, when you do Soundforge, sa panahon namin dati, ano pa mga pangalan no? So when you do those things, makikita mo yung waveform ng recording. And the funny thing is, etong Malacanang naglabas sila ng ibang version. Ang sabi nila na yung kumakalat na version na yan is fake. Okay? At yung fake na yan, ito yung totoo. So nilabas nila yung totoo. But kami noon, we were among the first to adopted mga yung digital na editing ng mga sound sa radio station na level. Before that, mga lang gumagawa noon, yung mga recording companies. So, when you compare the waveform nung unang kumalat na nagsasalita siya, yung usapan talaga normal, makikita mo yung I know you know this, yung plain na walang putol yung waves. Pero yung nilabas ng Malacanang na allegedly yun yung totoo. Doon mo makikita na yung biglang lalakas, gano'n, tapos yung putol, in-splice, makikita mo talaga siya. So I am sorry si Madam President noon. Okay? The election pala was not a presidential election, it was a senatorial election. And in that election, if I'm not mistaken, tama ba ako? Correct me if I'm wrong, ha? You find this out. That election was the one that Migsubiri won, and later on, nung matatalo na siya sa electoral protest ni sino to? Coco Pimentel, nag-resign siya. Tama ba ako? Is it the same Is it the same election? So when did sino to? When did Senate incoming Senate President Migsubiri resign as senator? Find out, find out, find out, find out. Ano yun? Ba't hindi ako nakaka-type? Nothing's coming out of my typewriter, of my keyboard. Oy, what's wrong with my computer? It's hanging. Okay, now, so, what happened there? Nagkaroon ng kaso. Ang nag-file si Frank Chavez. Frank Chavez is allegedly a nobody in this issue, tama? So, yung mga ano dyan, alam niyo yun, kailangan may kinalaman ka doon sa controversy para makapag-file ka ng kaso. But, the Supreme Court allowed his case to prosper. So, what is the main reason for that? Okay? And that is our top subject ngayon, no? Ano ba kasi ang kahalagahan ng media sa lipunan natin? Kahalagahan na hindi lang tayo ang nagsasabi, hindi lang tayo yung namimilit na, hindi, mahalaga yan, mahalaga. Kami kasi, we are going into that. We are expressing our rights. No, this is function that is only done by media, and it's not just being tolerated, it is really accepted by our legal luminaries across time, and kumbaga nasa loob yan ng ating, hindi lang yan siya lip service na nandiyan sa saligang batas, kundi usog lang ha, parang ang init kasi ng aking laptop. So it's not just lip service na nandiyan siya sa saligang batas, kagaya ng mga ibang rights dyan na sinasabi nila na wala namang katuturan, kagaya ng anti-dynasty bill, anti-dynasty provisions ng pero hindi naman siya na-enforce. But yung freedom of the press and freedom of speech is very well distinguished in this case, kung ano yung purpose niya, ano yung kanyang contribution sa ating lipunan, at bakit natin siya kailangan pangalagaan, at kailan natin siya pwedeng pagbawalan. Saan kaya ito si Atty. Ahmed? Hindi na rin sumasagot sa akin. Pabayaan mo muna. Kasi nagbabiyahe siya at galing lang daw siyang TWIZ. Okay. Paano ko nga ba ito? Kasi pangit kapag dun. Let me think. Let me think. What's the best way? Okay. So, yung kay Migs is 2007 ba na election siya na-elect? So yung kay Migs was 2007 na election. Kasi kay Gloria ay 2010, 2000 minus 6, 2004. So ano tong pinakialaman ni Gloria? Tama. Di ba ito yun? Tingnan nga natin. Labas nga natin. Di ba? Grabe, no? Okay. Ganito yung ito yung magandang lesson dito, no? I thought I was already very well versed about the details of this particular case, because I was there in the middle of this case. I was in the media. I saw this happen in front of me. I know the circumstances, but now I'm getting puzzled with the dates. So imaginein mo na lang yung ating kasaysayan. No? If you do not review, do not refer to what is written, uh, talagang malabo na magkaroon ng independent na memory on certain facts, lalo na kung hindi mo siya nakita or hindi mo siya, kumbaga, wala ka pa man lang kamalayan. No? So, believe talaga ako dito sa ating mga kabataan na sure sila sa kanilang mga nararamdaman at conviction kung ano ang nangyari at ano ang mga hindi nangyari noong panahon ng martial law. So, di ba? Nakikita nyo na yung aking pinupunto dito? Ang una kong pinupunto dito, that is the effect of media in our lives. Okay? These institutions, they are the ones who parang naghahang to aking computer. Ang init kasi eh. You know? My golly. Ayaw mag-type. Okay, anyway. So, let me just open na lang dito muna sa phone. So, this one, sabi, okay, the orders came in June 2005. Okay. On June 2004, on June 2004, acting National Board of Canvassers proclaimed President Arroyo winner. Okay. So, nanalo si GMA against Fernando Po. And then, si Ignacio Bunye held a press conference at Malacanang where he played before the press 2 compact discs recording. Ito yung sinasabi ko. So, all of these things were events of that election in 2004. Now, this one judged the case based on whether itong si NTC or yung Department of Justice, hindi talaga ako nagtatype kahit na dito sa kabila. Ano ba yan? Niloloko mo naman ako. Computer ngayon pa. Okay, so may babato ko ito dun sa kabila. Nakakainis naman ito. Ay, nako. Okay, lipat ko lang sa Chrome. Pwede nga pala yun, ano? Kasi, kung anong nakikita ko dito, dapat nakikita ko doon. So, ilipat ko sa app na Chrome. Tama. Copy. And then, lipat ko sa Chrome. Nakikita ko na siya doon na yan. Tama ba yun? Okay. Okay. In fact, this whole case, from start to finish, is all about freedom of the press. The freedom of the press, what it means, why it should be protected, and what is the difference between radio, what is the difference between radio and TV and movies and print. Magkakaiba daw yun. Paano siya i-regulate at ano yung pwede mong gawin to stop them and whatever, no? As government. Pero ganito kasi yung tanong dyan. Kung hindi naman siya government, would you have a right to stop anyone else? Ang sagot dyan na malinaw siguro is, I don't think so, or we wouldn't believe that kasi kung kunwari pinagbawalan ng gobyerno gumawa niyan, then so much more ikaw. Hindi nga kayang gawin ng gobyerno, ikaw pa kaya. Di ba? The more ikaw. Kasi kung pwedeng gawin yan ng gobyerno, di sana ano yan, kumbaga it's not a regulated act. It's not something na kailangan siyang bawasan ang iyong freedom to perform. Like okay, walang batas na nagbabawal ng uminom ng tubig, di ba? So uminom ka ng uminom ng tubig diyan, walang mangyayari sa iyo, walang magbabawal sa iyo. Ang gobyerno din hindi rin bawal uminom ng tubig ng mga taong gobyerno. So hindi siya pinag-uusapan at all. Di ba? So, ganun siya kasimple. No, hindi pa rin siya lumalabas. Ano ba yan? Okay. Teka lang ha. Give me just a few seconds na puntahan lang sino ba to? Developer options, and then ilipat ko siya sa, ay nako, Ahmed, kasi USB debugging, ayun, para makita siya ng computer ko at makuha ko galing dyan diretso. Ayun, yan, nakikita na niya. Finally. So nag-iisip pa tayo kung paano magbukas ng computer, cellphone sa computer. Ano ba naman yan, JP? So, when you are connected, paano ba to dapat? File sharing, no? Kailangan ko pa ng file sharing, papuntang USB connection to computer. USB settings. More connection settings. Sorry ha, sorry. How do I do this? Okay. Wala. Ba yan? USB tethering ba yun? Tama ba yun? Ano ba yan? USB para makailipat ako. Paano ba to? Ha? USB to computer. Ay, nako. Niloloko ako nito. Kasi pabago yung dati expert ako dito. Tawagin ko nga yung anak ko. No? Baka mas alam niya pa to sa akin. Ano ba to? Okay. Patay tayo nito. Naubos na yung oras natin. Okay, anyway. Ano ba sabi? Basahin ko na lang kaya galing dito muna. Ha? So una, ay sabi ng Supreme Court, freedom of expression has gained recognition as a fundamental principle of every democratic government and given a preferred right that stands on a higher level than substantive economic freedom or other liberties. The cognate rights codified in Article 3, Section 4 of the Constitution, copied almost verbatim from the First Amendment of the United States Bill of Rights. Okay? So, kumbaga, ang sinasabi natin dito is the source. No? But, wala to sa 1935 Constitution kasi wala pa namang radyo nun. Pero yung freedom of the press is already there, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1935 Constitution. Okay? Now, baliktad na ba tayo? Dito pala ako nanggaling. Okay, and dalawa kasi itong kasong tinitingnan ko, but I'll just focus on this one. In the Philippines, the primary and high esteem accorded to freedom of expression is the fundamental postulate of our constitutional system. This right was elevated to constitutional status in 1935, 1973, and 1987 constitutions. Reflecting our own lesson of history, both political and legal, that freedom of speech is an indispensable condition for nearly every other form of freedom. Okay. So yung sinasabi natin na kung kunwari may fact-checking dyan, may ginawang pag-block ng ating right to publish. Although that was not, this thing was not yet available at the time. No? And may pahaging ang Supreme Court na mangyayari to. It goes against this very lesson that sinasabi ng Korte, na it stems back to our history, na kapag tinitin mo yung right ng mga tao na magpahayag, it is harmful by itself to society. Okay? Now, why is this important at bakit natin to dapat pag-usapan at this time? Okay. Ang need kasi natin na i-build is yung isang matatag at malakas na pagkakaintindihan at ugnayan sa isa't isa, lalo na ngayong very challenging yung ating sitwasyon. Challenging not only politically but more so economically. Ano ba yung challenge na sinasabi natin? Have you been watching the news ng dito sa Pilipinas lang? Di ba wala tayong napapansin na issue galing sa labas and how it affects us? Oo nga, tawagan nga natin to si Atty. Ahmed. Hinahanap na tuloy niya ay Miracle. Oo nga, saan ka ba? Where na you? Tawagan natin ha. Kung sasagutin tayo. Niloloko tayo nito. Oh, okay. Pabayaan muna natin. So, bawasan lang natin. Okay. Okay. Yun, no? Huy, nasan ka na? Malapit na?
Nandito na sa
Oh.
last canto before 50.
Okay. Malapit na pala siyang hahabol. Alam mo, madaya kasi ito si Atty. Ahmed dahil ang assignment niya sa usapan namin, siya yung magdi-discuss muna ng Constitution. Kasi yung provision ng Constitution tungkol dito, dapat yun yung simulan natin kasi yun yung basis nito mga desisyon na to eh. So, ako, nag-prepare ako on the second part. Kaya, hindi ko pa siya nalipat sa computer. Sorry talaga sa inyo. At hindi ko alam kung bakit hindi ko siya makita dito sa aking computer. So, anyway, parating na yun si Amedu. Sana ay hindi na umuulan ba sa inyo? Kasi kanina ang lakas dito sa amin eh. No? Maulan din dun sa Cubao kanina. Alam ko. Kaya sana wala nang delay. Isang kanto na lang daw nandoon na siya. Alam mo naman yung Cubao, di ba? Ang Cubao, ay nako, yung isang kanto minsan 15 minutos, di ba? So, sabi ng Supreme Court na it stems back to our history. Okay? But that is about the freedom of speech. Okay? Now, surrounding the freedom of speech clause are various concepts that we have adopted as part and parcel of our own Bill of Rights. Provisions of this basic freedom. What is embraced under this provision was discussed exhaustively in the case of Gonzales versus Commission on Elections. I think that was the case about surveys, no? And sinasabi ng Supreme Court, hindi nyo pwedeng pigilan yung pagbo-broadcast ng mga survey. So at the very least, free speech and free press may be identified with the liberty to discuss publicly and truthfully any matter of public interest. Okay, nandun naman yung truthfully. There is to be no previous restraint. Okay, no previous restraint. Dito na yung blocking. On the communication of views or subsequent liability, whether in libel suits, prosecution for sedition, or action for damages, or contempt proceedings unless there be a clear and present danger of substantive evil. Ayun. Okay? So, nakita niyo yung requirement. Hindi lang dahil nasaktan ka sa sinabi o di kaya ayaw mo din sa sinabi, pwede mo nang pigilan yung pag-exercise ng freedom of speech ng iba. Okay? Ulit ha, there is to be no previous restraint. Hindi pwede, timing. No, walang ganun. There is no subsequent liability even for libel. Ha? Hindi ka rin pwedeng i-prosecute for sedition or action for damages unless it is proven that there is a clear and present danger. So yun yung test. Clear and present danger. So, saan dito yung yung nagsabi ka lang ng yung hindi ka lang nagsabi na yung tulay na ginagawa ay hindi siya na-approve noong panahon ni Duterte, kundi na-approve yan sa panahon ni Pinoy. Why will that kind of content be curtailed just because of your inability to include what they wanted you to say. Di ba? Sila ba ang kung sa Bisaya pa sila day magbuot kung sa imong istorya. Oh. So no prosecution even for sedition unless there is a clear and present danger to society. Okay? There is to be no uh, okay, nabasa ko na pala. It is further explained that the vital need of a constitutional democracy for freedom of expression is undeniable, whether as a means of assuring individual self-fulfillment, of attaining the truth, of ascertaining participation by the people in social, including political, decision-making, and of maintaining the balance between stability and change. Oh, asan yung mga historical revisionists dito? Diba? The vital need of a constitutional democracy. So what needs this is not just us but society itself. No? Kahit na ang kanyang ginagawa is just for self-fulfillment. Hindi mo yan pwedeng pigilan. Magpa-participate siya sa political discourse, hindi mo rin siya pwedeng pigilan. Okay lang po, Jico. We're all late. Si attorney din late. He's just about to open. And, okay, to maintain the balance between stability and change. Change is an important element of democracy. Hindi pwedeng, kung ano na lang yung nakasulat, yun na lang yun. At pipigilan mo yung lahat na hindi pwedeng tanungin yun. When they are questioning things that we already hold true, sino ba nagsabi nun? No? Sabi dito sa Pilipinas daw kung gaano tayo ka-progresibo mag-isip. As early as the 1920s, or this is exactly 100 years ago, the trends reflected in the Philippines and American decisions was to recognize the broadest scope and assure the widest latitude for this constitutional guarantee. The trend represents a profound commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open. Asan dito yung fact-checking? Asan dito yung danger of people becoming enabled to make clear distinction between right and wrong? Asan dito yung need na kailangan merong mag-guide? Otherwise, they're wrong. Well, ito, si Luna, no? Si Luna sinasabi niya, alam mo, I would agree with you, no? Although it's not nice to hear and it's not nice for us to say those things, no? Kasi parang discriminatory, no? Parang pinagsasama-sama na natin sila dahil dilaw sila. Parang ganun na rin yung ginagawa natin, but unfortunately, yes, even my own relatives are like that. Ay nako. We share the whole experience, no? Kayo din, no? May mga relatives kayo, may mga kaibigan kayo na hindi natin maintindihan, di ba? So, the trend represents a profound commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited. Walang saplot. Ano bang Tagalog ng uninhibited? Walang hiya. Ang kasunod kasi robust and wide open. Sabi ng Supreme Court yan dito sa decision. So, kaya kaya basis ng pagbubuo ng Lawyers for Lenny, I mean that time at the election, opposite of what is you're saying, they want us to stop asking and arriving at better conclusion. Precisely. That's why they lose, no? But unfortunately, they have the reins over like me, myself, I was forced to download yung alam mo yung mga app na yung nag-analyze ng yung sariling distribution ng inyong content sa Facebook. And you can really see mine. talagang pabulusok siya ng pabulusok mula nung ginawa nila yung tagging that I committed daw hate speech when I called out Isko Moreno for his own hate speech. Di ba? But of course, we know that this is just a means to silence some people whom they do not want to be speaking out. Kaya makikita nyo, papansin nyo naman siguro yun sa mga dati nating kahit dyan sa Luminous, tingnan nyo yung mga likes, ang kukonti na lang. Kaya if you want to, kasi hindi nila yan pwedeng paulit-ulit na i-reset dun sa algorithm ng computer eh. So, if we will counteract that by going back to the pages and then setting it, may settings daw yan na parang ipe-prefer mo na marinig or matanggap yung mga message galing dyan sa mga page na curtail nila yung distribution. Nire-restrict nila yung distribution. Okay? So, now we go to freedom of speech and freedom of the press. What's the difference? Okay, ha? Kung nakikita nyo to sa ngayon ko lang alam na realize nagtutugma kami ng Supreme Court dito. So the freedom of speech and of the press means something more than the right to approve existing political beliefs. Swak na swak yun sa sinasabi nyo. Sabi ha? The freedom of speech and of the press means something more than the right to approve existing political beliefs or economic arrangements. Kung yung sinasabi nyo, ito lang yung tama, dapat yan lang yung tama. At kung magnanakaw lang talaga yung mga Marcos at hindi yan dapat makabalik sa Malacanang, dapat yan lang yung papaniwalaan. At yung economic arrangements natin na yung mga oligarchs, yung mamumuno dito sa Pilipinas, dapat kanyan lang. Okay? To lend support to official measures. Ito na nga, itong official measures, ang official measures ay pati nga ito, kino-question na nila, tinitake over na nila. And to take refuge in the existing climate of opinion on any matter of public consequence. When atrophied, ano ba itong atrophy? Parang pagpinigilan, no? When atrophied, the right becomes meaningless. Just like what we are complaining of right now. When atrophied, the right becomes meaningless. The right belongs as well, if not more, to those who question, who do not conform, who differ. And that's what we've been doing. Imbis na kami ay tumahimik at magpakabait-baitan, kaya nagagalit yung shutter ni Ahmed mas lalo po kami ginaganahan dahil andyan naman kayo, hindi pa naman nila nauubos, hindi pa naman nila kami pinapatay sa ere. Kasi hindi naman nila kami mapapatay sa ere, Supreme Court naman ito nagsasabi nito, di ba? So, the ideas that may be expressed under this freedom are confined not only to those that are conventional or acceptable to the majority. To be truly meaningful, freedom of speech and of the press should allow and even encourage the articulation of the unorthodox view. Naku, Rappler, the unorthodox view, ayaw nyo yan. Though it be hostile to or derided by others. Sino to? AGP, pumasok ka na. Or through such views, induce a conduit of unrest, creates dissatisfaction with conditions as they are, or even steers people to anger. Dapat daw pinoprotektahan yan, sabi ng Supreme Court. Hate speech, pasok to. To paraphrase Justice Holmes, it is freedom for the thought that we hate, no less than for the thought that agrees with us. Good evening, Atty. Ahmed. Okay, so ang binabasa namin ngayon is yung mga mahalagang parte. Grabe itong yung Chavez versus si Gonzales na decision, yung Hello Garci scandal.
Hello, Garcia.
Yun. Isipin mo, ngayon lang siya ngayon lang siya na-recognize yung aking phone. Kanina ko pang iniisip kung paano ko makuha. Yan, tamang-tama nandiyan ka na. Ikaw mo na yung humabol sa greetings sa ating mga ano. Paliwanag ka, bakit ka late?
Kasi kasi.
Oo, sinabi ko na sa kanila.
Hello.
Oo.
Joanna, Stevie, si Pinay Paparas, si Kaz, what's up, Luna? Kakanta? O, bawat yugto ng sandali, halos di ko alam. Yan. Okay na?
Oo. Sino yun si? Sino yun si... Nagpuputol-putol. Willie Garter? Oy, nagpuputol-putol pala.
Yes. Ken Kulitsi, Al Miracle.
Okay, where's he?
JP. Ba't may JP? Crush mo si JP?
Sino yan? Hindi, ganyan talaga pangalan niya. Kapag ko pa yung tinitingnan eh. Hindi naman daw niya ako crush.
Crush ka niya.
Screenshots. Hindi.
Genesis.
Where do I find my screenshots?
Mentalista.
Okay. So, right now, Attorney Ahmed, ang aming na-discuss is yun, the freedom of expression, the freedom of the, nandun na kami sa freedom of the press. Okay? How does it differ to the freedom of expression? Di ba? And,
yung freedom of the press is originally not exercised by individuals. It's usually exercised by an entity or organization, association, or a business.
Nabasa pa niya. Okay. So, can you enlighten us on the pag-aralan mo na ba yung ating Public Service Act kung ha?
Kung
Kasi hindi alam mo hindi ako I've tried tumbling over the Public Service Act ulit-ulit. Hindi ko talaga ma-place kung nawala ba si broadcast o hindi kasi ang haba din ng pala yung Commonwealth Act number 146, no? Sino ba sa inyo yung nakakasubaybay dun sa aming mga pinag-uusapan sa tambayan din, which is also related to this, no? Kasi yung broadcasting business is also special because it is a regulated business. And yung kanyang regulation is not only in the form of the radio laws but in the Public Service Act natin. At yun yung inamindahan ni Tigong, pinayagan niya.
Sana hindi siya nakinig muna sa atin.
Hindi. Alam mo kung bakit? Imposition ng international financial community. Hindi rin siya makakakinig sa atin ever about that.
Hindi rin niya tayo maririnig kung sakali.
Hindi niya kayang hindi yan.
Bakit?
Okay.
Ano ba yung pressure point?
Pressure point dito? Kailangan nilang pumasok because otherwise I think they know the control of the oligarchs in certain industries sa power, most especially, and to ease them out, the only entities that can out maneuver them or out capitalize them would be the foreign entities. Na malamang alam na kung sino yan. Yeah. And right now it is being considered as one of the kumbaga alam mo yung call a friend na ano ba yung tawag doon, lifelines ng ating bansa kapag may mangyayari pang dagdag na issue na hindi natin kagagawan, like umabot sa ating yung giyera, whatever, di ba? So yan is one of our last remaining saving graces, yung I think it's worth the risk. Bantayan na lang talaga natin. Yun yung isang punto dito, no? Why we are calling this ano ba yung title natin, attorney? Usapang unity, no? Usapang pagkakaisa, no? Kasi all of these topics that we are discussing is to enable us to unite. Hindi yung dahil kinantahan tayo, alam mo yun,
Oo.
niloko-loko tayo, kinajol tayo into agreeing. But cajole into agreement. Di ba? JP is Japan, Philippines, o Japan din. JP is Japan itself. Di ba?
JP, Japan.
Sa mga eroplano. JP. Ano ba yan? Ito nangyayari sa computer. Pre, pwede ba ako mag-restart lang? Naghahang ako eh.
Mag-start
ano mo lang ha? I-take over mo muna ha? Nakakontrol ka na dyan, di ba?
I think so.
Controller ka ha? Hindi ka ano ha?
User? Huwag ka mag-restart.
Hindi, ano ba nga? Hindi ako makagalaw eh. Hindi ko maano eh. Hindi ko mailabas yung kailangan ko ilabas eh. Ayun, nasa...
Kung ano yung
yun ang ginagawa namin. Ayun. Hindi, nandun na nga kami. No? So, init talaga. Anyway. So, lipat na lang ako sa iPad. Tawag dito, si Supreme Court ay nagsabi dito, no? Na magkakaiba yung freedom of the press sa freedom of speech. Dahil sa freedom of speech, ang freedom na yan ay sa tao. Sa freedom of the press, yan ay para sa taong bayan. Para yung kanilang karapatan na marinig yung mga bagay na kailangan nilang marinig para makagawa ng tamang opinyon sa mga pagdidesisyonan niya sa buhay, available sa kanya ng hindi minamanipula. Di ba? Yun yung kailangan ng isang demokrasya. And that is all that we want. That is all Almira Kel wants. And sino to? Si Rocky. Yun lang naman ang gusto natin, di ba? Na we will have sources that are not tainted with bias because they are simply commanded by their bosses who own yung mga factors of production.
Alam mo ba kung saan, anong bansa ang unang-unang nagkaroon ng batas ng freedom of the press?
Sa US.
Hindi, Sweden.
Bakit? Ano bang issue nila doon?
Press sa UK kasi yung licensing act ay nag-expire yung licensing act kasi isang batas na suppressive na nag-expire siya. In other words, ewan ko kung paano naglalapse yung licensing act na yan.
Mm-hmm.
So, now I understand what's this. Okay? Copyright Act pa yun. Yung licensing act is the Copyright Act. The act by the Parliament of Great Britain. Okay? Kasi may mga restrictions yan siya. Under na kasama doon yung mga printers. Okay? Intindihan mo? Copyright Act.
Mm-hmm.
Mga restrictions yung licensing of the Press Act. So, licensing act ang tawag doon. Meron siyang rules na naglilimit sa mga printers at sa mga guild of printers to print. Sila lang may authority to print. And sila lang din ang may authority to censor anything that they print. So, kung may nagpaprint sila ng mga libro, mga literary works, sila lang din ang pwede mag-censor. Okay? So, sa dami ng
self-censorship. Okay? Self-censorship.
Not the state.
Self-regulation.
Indirectly, the state, because it was the state that gave them the license. So, okay? So, ang dami-dami ng protesta, kasama pala doon sa batas na yon ay ang isang provision na sabing itong batas na to ay dapat i-renew every 2 years. Okay? Every 2 years, i-renew dapat siya kung good law pa rin ba siya o hindi na. So, ang mga authors at mga yung nasa-censor ng mga press ay nagprotesta. So ang parliament napilitan sila na hindi na i-renew.
Mhm.
Okay? Re-authorize yung mga press, yung mga guild of printers.
Ano ang external reason as other than just the expiration? Yung meron yang political reason usually
Censorship. Censorship. Yun nga, yung mga nagsusulat, mga writers, mga authors,
Oh,
dahil sinesensor nga
na
sila.
ayaw
yung
na
mga,
nila yung content.
na sinesensor sila ng mga guild of printers, mga yun nga, yung press. So parang teka muna, bakit yung pinagpakialaman yung works namin?
Oh.
Okay? So, nagprotesta sila. Sakto-sakto itong batas na to has to be renewed every 2 years. So, the next time around na i-renew na siya, hindi na siya na-renew. Nag-lapse siya. So, ngayon, nawala na ngayon yung mga restrictions na otherwise pwedeng i-impose ng mga guild of printers. Okay, so, doon na nagsimula yan. Pero, yun nga, as it happened, hindi siya batas. It's actually the death of a law that gave birth to the freedom of the press.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was not really the press who enjoyed this freedom because it was the press, the guild of printers, na sila nga yung nagsisensor.
Kaya nga, so sila yung binawalan na mag-censor.
Oo. But it's called the press. Kasi kahit na yung mga nagprotesta ay hindi naman miyembro ng Guild of Printers yun, mga authors yun, mga other writers, ganyan. So, hindi siya na-review ng parliament.
Yung pala yung sa Britain yan. Anong taon yan, sir?
1710. Circa 1710.
Okay, but
of the Press Act was in 1662. Kailan ba na-invento yung
1200. 1200.
Printing press?
1250. Somewhere
By
there.
this time, 1662, nagkaroon na ng batas na nila-license na ng parliament, mga bansang na great ang mga press kasi laganap na sila.
Okay. So, ang alam natin din, at that time, ang pinoprotektahan was yung church and yung king. Tama? Kaya yung word na scurrilous libel and heresy for the church, no? Yun yung lumalabas na mga kasalanan mo when you write something against these two institutions. So yung scurrilous libel, yun yung
inciting to sedition.
Yes, and now reduced into the concept of libel. Okay? Kaya ang sinasabi nga ng Supreme Court, no, even those things, it has to be defined by law. Otherwise, because marami naman talagang magagalit kung bubulkar mo yung mga bagay-bagay, di ba? But in the interest of democracy, hindi mo siya pwedeng i-curtail. Okay? Now, punta na tayo ngayon dito sa punto na pangalawa, which is the Filipino ownership. Why is it important? Okay, why is it important?
Exclusively siya.
Oo, yung practice ng professional. Ang lakas ng electric fan mo sa mic mo, pare.
Agad ba?
Oo. Bumabagsak. Yan, better. Yun. Hindi sila makapagsabi, good afternoon pa kay Angel. Alright. So why does it have to be Filipino and not foreign? Okay. What's the basis? It's in our constitution, of course. So is it simply malum prohibitum?
It is prohibited by law and by the constitution. So it's probably a malum
Prohibitum. Malainse or malum prohibitum?
Malum prohibitum. Sa tingin ko, it's wrong in itself.
Na payagan mo na okay, ano itong pinag-uusapan namin, ano? There are two kinds of explain mo, sir.
Ikaw.
Dalawa kasi yung klaseng bawal, di ba? Pwedeng bawal dahil mali talaga, at bawal dahil sinabi lang nung nagbabawal na bawal.
Bawal siya dahil meron siya ibang reason other
Or
than its
it's
inherent
inherently wrong.
wrongness.
Oo.
What is inherently wrong? Example,
Oh.
what is inherently wrong?
Sila dyan.
Lying.
Okay. Ha?
Lying.
Oh, yan.
It's inherently wrong.
Mm.
Diba? Killing. It's inherently wrong.
Hindi rin.
Inherently wrong. Bibigyan
Yung
ka
mga
ng-
nasa Ten Commandments, so pwede siguro.
Yeah,
Inherently wrong. Oo. I think those things are inherently wrong.
Yan. Eh, ano yung mga wrong only because the legislature, because
Says it's
of
wrong.
some reasons, and for some purpose, they declared something to be wrong or illegal. Example, sabong. Hindi naman siya
Ayan.
inherently wrong dahil wala naman sinasaktan ng mga tao dyan. Pero because of the degradation of the people, kasi hindi na sila nagtatrabaho, nagsasapong na lang sila, wala na silang ibang ginagawa kundi magsapong at magsugal,
Oh.
eh, nakita nila na there is a detriment that will be caused if we did not regulate sabong. Kaya gumawa sila sa taas.
Isa. Yung no smoking in
Yes, okay.
non-designated place. Yan, malong prohibitum lang yan. Hindi, it's not inherently wrong. Lalo na kung kunwari nasa open ka, di ba? Pero itong panahon ni Duterte, marami siyang malong prohibitum, yung bawal mag-joke ng alas 9, lagpas alas 9, o yun.
Bawal sipulan yung mga girl natin.
Sa Quezon City. Sa Quezon City, merong anti-bastos. So, those are malum prohibitum.
Mala.
Okay, so,
ang plural niyan ay mala prohibita.
Malum, wrong, and prohibit.
Because
Okay.
it's prohibited.
Now, ang tanong, is it absolutely wrong? Or because if it's malum, mala inse by itself, then it's absolutely wrong if foreigner will operate a TV station here in the Philippines, or
It looks like that to me.
or newspaper here in the Philippines. Why?
Bakit? Maiisip niyo ba kung bakit gagawin niya? Bakit mali siya?
Why would it even be in our constitution? Tingin ko parang mala-inse lang, o malum prohibitum lang eh. Di ba? There's nothing fundamental.
Pwede mo siyang legalize actually. Di ba? Hindi mo na siya ipapunish. So you repeal the law, it's already permitted. Diba?
Yes. Pero,
However, ang RPC, hindi mo ma-criminalize ang mga bagay dyan.
It's a nice question. Like the Commonwealth Act number 146, yung restriction on the foreign ownership of 60/40, and they changed the wording. They changed the terminology. They made a new classification because the provision in the Constitution says public utility, and the requirement in this law is public service. Since they're not the same words, they make a distinction. Ito ang pinagbabawal ng Constitution, ito yung hindi. So, I think it's in that category. No? Na it is only wrong because of our political preference as a state. Don't you think? Na parang the Constitution is an expression of the will of the state, tama? So as a state, we exercise our political choice na gusto namin hindi kami ma-pollute sa aming pag-iisip by the entry of foreign entities na nag-ooperate na maaring maka-influence sa aming mga panghuna-huna. Tama ba? Male, female, boys. Nag-ano din sila. Nag-meeting din yan sila dyan. Gabi na. Meeting yan sila. Okay, those are importante din yan.
Pagkakaroon natin sa Constitution, meron tayong sinasabing prohibition of foreign
Oh.
nationals
Mm.
from having control
Mm.
over the company or corporation that is engaged in broadcasting.
Yeah, it's article, di ba? 12? Something? Oh.
Lang meron ganyan, bawal talaga. Pero, at meron ding wala rin namang prohibition ng pag-aari ng meron ba? May regulation
Alin?
ba? Doon sa
Okay.
All Public Service Act natin na foreigners owning media.
Okay, there's a different law, Presidential Decree number 1018. Hindi makagalaw ka ang aking screen. Ikaw na lang mag-search. I-flash mo. RA 1018. Mag-start na lang ako, hindi na ako makagalaw eh.
RA 1018. Sige.
Oh, RA, PD, sorry. PD, Presidential Decree 1018.
1018.
Hindi na nga rin ako makarestart. No?
1976.
1976. Issued by Ferdinand Marcos. Hindi ko na rin ma-press yung aking Windows na logo para mag-restart. Wala na talaga ito. I'm dead in the air, so I'll just stay here. Okay, ikaw na Alright.
USA. I-share ko ba sa
Oh, i-share mo dito. Share mo lang sa screen para makita nila that there is really a law and there is one in the Constitution.
Sige.
Diba?
Share screen.
Is it there?
Baka yung na screen ko
So,
makita.
You know, si Hello Sushi. Hello Sushi. Hello. And yan naman natin sila. Sila man i-share natin bago ano. Something's odd.
Yes. Share.
Oh, ha?
Kita na.
Wala pa. Okay. Yun. Yan. Okay.
Oh. Yan yun.
Ano ito tanggalin niya? Ay. Okay. So this is a presidential decree. At alam naman natin yung mga presidential decree ay tumbas ng batas.
Batas.
Pre, hindi na ako makapress. Ikaw na. Kasi ang liit yan sa akin. Nakaganon lang kalito. Ikaw na magbasa.
Ito muna ba't nawala? Ano nangyari?
Ikaw yan.
At tumiit. Ayan.
Control mo yan. It's your control. Yeah.
Bakit?
Yeah. I don't know with you. You control that. It's your screen.
Ayan.
Okay?
Muna.
Okay.
Oh. Ano sabi dyan?
Ang una ay
It's imperative that this constitutional mandate be implemented by law. Okay. So, meron siyang reference to a constitutional mandate. What is this mandate?
to prohibit foreign ownership.
Number one, protect the integrity and sovereignty of the Philippines. Provide, among other things, that the ownership and management of mass media shall be limited to citizens of the Philippines or to corporations or associations wholly owned and managed by such citizens. So, purely Filipino. Ang mass media, okay, hindi lang broadcasting.
Hindi lang broadcasting.
Yeah. Next.
Whereas,
The mandate to implement law with appropriate sanctions ensure disrespect and carried out. So, this was necessary in accordance with French provision to define the extent to which the implementation will be applicable. Yan yun. O ngayon, didefine niya ngayon ng mass media.
yan ang maganda.
Definition ng mass media. Ito yan siya. Section 1.
Refers.
Yan po. O, basahin nyo. Ayaw akong basa dyan. Ano ang intindi nyo dyan?
So, it is the print medium, medium of communication, which includes all newspapers, periodicals, magazines, journals, and publications, and all advertising therein. Advertising?
Tiaw mo yan. Pag advertising kasama dyan. Oh.
Ooh, So even if and the like,
Yeah.
this has not been repealed.
Wala.
Wala, this has not been
Eh,
repealed. This is still good law.
oh,
Oh.
good po yan.
Billboards, neon signs, and the like, and broadcast medium of communication, which includes radio, television, broadcasting, in all aspects, and all other cinematographic and radio promotion and advertising. Hoy, 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 hoy. Oh,
When meron?
wait, okay.
Oh,
Ownership must be limited to citizens of the
citizens of
Philippines.
the Philippines. Auto
And,
corporation.
okay. Ano mangyari daw sa mga foreigner?
Oh, ayan.
Oh, like mga American citizen na nagbibenta ng shares of stocks. Oh, sige. Any foreigner
Hmm.
or alien
Yan,
residing in the Philippines and any
Define
foreign
niya muna.
corporation doing business in the Philippines who prints or publishes or causes to be printed or published abroad, and newspaper, magazine, periodicals, or other publication but circulates or cause the circulation of the same in the Philippines shall be covered by or subject to the provision of this decree. Oh.
Yan yung ngayon ang sinasabi niyan is inaano niya, dinidefine niya yung set of people na pwedeng maging applicable sa pag-implement ng batas na to. Sino magiging covered ng batas na to? So kahit na yung kasi ang mga batas natin ideally ay dapat territorial in application. Ibig sabihin, it will our laws like this one would only be effective against anybody who sojourns or lives or citizens of this country na sa loob ng kanyang territory. And our
Even
territory, according to the UNCLOS, straight baselines. Yun, yung paligid ng Pilipinas.
Okay, so even the act of printing was done abroad, basta
Done
i-circulate mo
abroad,
siya dito.
extraterritoriality na ngayon yan. It
Oh,
can
pero dito mo
apply
kasi i-circulate,
Hmm.
dahil dinala mo siya ulit dito, ngayon, mag-apply siya sa'yo.
Oo, pero hindi naman kasi ikaw, kung ako nagpa-print abroad, hindi naman ako necessarily circulate niyan dyan. So,
Hindi,
It's
by,
not-
but circulates or
because-
causes the circulation. Sila ang nag-circulate din.
or just causes it. So, nagbayad lang ako ng mga Pilipino.
Mm.
Sa Pilipinas, circulate nyo, causes yun.
Ah.
So, mag-a-apply pa rin yan kahit nasa US ako, extraterritorial application of criminal law. Is what?
Oh, pero, kumbaga, malamang kung sino yung nagpapano sa'yo dito, no? Yung nag-iikot ng mga materialis mo
Yun,
dito,
ang
mga punyetos mo,
mahuhuli.
yun yung mahuhuli.
Oh, yun
At hindi niya magagamit na defense na doon naman to inimprenta sa Amerika.
Oo. Yan yun.
Okay.
Number 4.
Any person who publishes a newspaper, magazine, periodical, or publication abroad and
Shall
decides
do
to
so.
circulate shall do so through a Filipino citizen or a firm or association wholly owned or controlled by citizens of the Philippines. And said distributor shall be responsible for compliance with any requirements of Philippine law, rules, or regulations, and be liable for any criminal or civil action against the publication.
Itong section 4, ang sinasabi dito ay kahit na yung newspaper, halimbawa, New York Times, example. New York Times, gustong i-circulate yan dito sa Pilipinas. Diba? Ibenta dito, araw-araw. Kung kaya ba naman nila magpadala ng New York Times dito sa Pilipinas
sakay
araw-araw?
naman sa aeroplano.
Teleportation. Yan. Pwede daw. Pero, ang pwede lang gumawa niyan dito, ibig sabihin, ang magbibenta niyan, magdi-distribute niyan dito sa Pilipinas ay dapat Filipino pa rin.
At pag
Or
sinabing,
ang company ay Filipino.
at ang sinasabing wholly owned, hindi yan yung 60-40 na may mix, di ba? Pag sinasabing wholly owned, 100% yan. Okay, so paano pala itong advertising agencies?
Meron nga ngayong hint na bakit kaya ito ganito? Anong kinalaman ng itong activity na to, newspaper, magazine, publication, anong kinalaman nito sa pagiging Filipino natin? Bakit ginawang tayo lang ang pwedeng gumawa nito? May tanong na kaagad tayong ganyan, di ba? Madidevelop na yung tanong sa ulo mo.
Oh, kumbaga,
By
by what right? Di ba? By what right do you make this, Ferdinand Marcos? Di ba?
Oh. Or what is the justification for this? What is the raison d'être
Oh.
for being?
Ang lit naman ng ano?
Ganyan.
Lit naman ng penalty, 10,000 lang. Tapos 6 months and 5 years. Dapat kumpletuhin daw yan kapag sinasabi mo, sir, hindi pwedeng 6 months lang. Magagalit ang Philippine Star sa'yo.
6 to 5 years or 1 day. Hindi yung gusto nila eh. If the violation is committed by a corporation, the penalty shall be imposed on the officers or employees thereof who are responsible for or who committed the violation. Yan yan.
Okay.
Napakainit batas.
Then, September 22. Okay. So, why would the president do this in 1976? And he is saying that his basis is the Constitution, which I presume was done in 1973. And we already heard from the Supreme Court saying that it already was enacted in the 1935 Constitution.
Of course.
And then later, in 1986, when we make the Freedom Constitution, we also put these provisions in there.
Oh, we retain it.
We retain it. So there must be a reason. There must be a reason. I wanna know why.
Vote
Huh?
of meron tayong vote of confidence sa principle na yon. Kaya nandoon sa 1935 Constitution, pinagtibay ng Supreme Court at in 1986 ay kinopya pa. Mahalaga siya. Pero mahalaga.
Oh, di ba? Kahit na sa demarcosification na policy, talagang inadapt pa rin itong sinari pa rin. And did that make this law, repealed, di ba? This law is still good law. And we follow it. In fact, if you go into the SCRA, our cases, wala namang nagbabiolate niyan, isa pa lang. Talaga, isa pa lang.
Isa pa lang. Ito pa lang
Rappler.
Pero there is a case here. Hindi na ako pwedeng tumingin ng case na to.
There was a case about AXN, no? AXN. Pero malabo hindi ko maintindihan yung kaso na yun, no? Si AXN kasi parang kineri lang siya ng cable eh. So hindi rin siya masyadong clear sa akin kung ano talaga issue doon. Kung na-issuean ba si AXN ng franchise, hindi ko alam, no?
Ano yung ikikwento mo sana? Bakit in 1976? Ano bang background ng 1976? Anong nangyari?
Yan ang okay. Nang 1976 na yan, ano na yan? Kumbaga,
martial law na yan,
control
diba?
na yan eh. That's within martial law. But maybe, okay. This was also the time. Okay. Tingnan mo yung 576A. 1975. In series yan eh. Sa mga paggawa niya ng mga Broadcast Media Council, mga paggawa niya ng KBP.
Yes.
Alala mo, yung regulation at deregulation ng broadcast, those happened in 1975, 76. Okay, kasi noong 1972 kinlamp down, and then slowly kumbaga dinaanan ni Marcos yan sa true loss. Hindi, sa true loss, mas stable. 'Di ba kasi dati si Enrile lang yun eh. Tingnan mo, nakalimutan na ni Enrile na sinequester niya yung ABS-CBN nung nag-testify siya sa Kongreso, 'di ba? But later on, so later on, Marcos replaced that with loss. And nagkaroon ng maraming experimentation dyan until that NTC that we know now came into being. Because before that, meron yun siya succession of changes in regulation in the format and kung sino nagre-regulate siya. And I think that was 1976. Tingnan mo si NTC. Kailan yan siya na-form? 75 or 76?
May broadcasting act.
Kaya nga, the Broadcasting Act is 1930. The Broadcast Law is 1930 something. Act number something yan, 30 something, 3000 something.
Kasi
Okay.
meron tayong broadcasting act. Sige, ikaw. Sige, larga.
Lumitaw sa wall daw niya. Huwag ka muna matulog. Alam nyo, ito, ay paminsan-minsan lang natin itong pag-uusapan habang napapanahon. Habang nandito pa kami at meron pa kaming airtime. Kasi sa shutdown na talaga kami nitong mga buwang na to.
Hindi na kayo ngayon pala.
Okay. So, the reason why ako magbibigay na lang ako ng kuro-kuro kasi wala talaga tayong makahanap dyan na dahilan. Kasi, unless merong decision ang Supreme Court on the Rappler case, which I suspect meron. Meron ba? Dinismiss kasi nila. It's in the Court of Appeals. Yung kanilang ownership case, which led to this termination of their license this June, last month. Narinig nyo ba yun? Na tinanggalan ng lisensya ang ating kagalang-galang na Reza. Okay? Yung lisensya na magbenta ng mga securities and stocks. Wala namang lisensya doon para mag-operate ng isang media entity. Okay. Yung kaso na yan, na daanan ko dito sa site ng TSE, ng Stock Exchange, ano ba ito? Securities and Exchange Commission. Ay may nire-refer siya pare na kaso na dinesisyonan ng Court of Appeals na yun yung basis niya. Kasi si Court of Appeals naman daw ay dininay na daw ng Supreme Court yung kanila makaapila. Baka naalala mo yung mga nakikita natin maliliit na mga desisyon na hindi na nakalabas, no? Yung mga dismissal. Baka merong ganyan yun si Rappler. Kaya if we go to the Court of Appeals, baka doon natin yan makikita.
Makakita natin.
Hindi nga ako makatep.
Pero bago yan, ito, silipin din natin to.
Ano yun, sir?
Silipin natin ito siya. Ito po. Ito. Maganda kasi ito siyang tignan din.
Nan, what is that?
What is that? Ano ang tawag sa kanya ay yan yun.
Table of Content, KBP, Broadcast Code. Uy, sali akong gumawa niyan.
Kasama ka sa gumawa nito.
Sa revision. Prior to that, there were two codes, the radio code and the television code. And then, kinumbine yan into that broadcast code. A little bit of history about that. That thing was contentiously done at the period na kailangan ng KBP regulate ang airtime na pinapayagan per hour to be used for advertising. Sinong naglalaban-laban dyan? It was ABS-CBN and GMA. Because GMA became so popular and ABS-CBN was so angry that they wanted to limit GMA's time allotted for airing advertisements. Kasi kung hindi na niya kakayaning tanggapin, edi mapupunta na sa iba yung advertising budget, di ba? And in those days, kung hindi yan napunta sa ABS-CBN, pupunta lang yan sa GMA. Kung hindi sa kanya, sa kabila. So, sa KBP, we had a rule before na in Metro Manila, within an hour, you can only air like 17 or 16 minutes per hour. May iba yung time slots na yun eh. Depende sa time of the day. Kung ilan yung pwede mong i-air dyan na number of minutes of advertising. So, divided into 30-second slots, ganun karaming advertisement na pwede mong ipasok sa isang oras na teleserye. So, na-imagine nyo na, no? So, kung si GMA ay tumatanggap ng additional na 5 minuto, anong mangyayari? Isang spot niyan ay nagko-cost at the time ng mga 400 to 500,000. So, kung tatanggap si GMA ng 5 more minutes in excess of the 15 minutes that is allowed by the rules, yan si broadcast code. That means, they translate that 5 times 2, 10, 10 million? 10 million per hour?
Something like that.
Something like that. Ang kanilang pinag-aaway. Per hour, per day.
Per day. Oh, per hour, per day.
While the rest of the broadcast industry was languishing of
Poverty.
no income. And so much so that yung mga tao sa probinsya hindi na makatanggap ng income dahil lahat ng advertising ay napupunta na lang sa ABS-CBN at saka sa GMA dahil pinayagan sila ngayon ng NTC to not follow the rules, not follow the law na kailangan may limit lang sa number of stations. So now they're able to air nationwide. Yung mga stasyon sa probinsya, wala na sila ngayong natatanggap na advertising galing sa national advertisers. Kasi papasok na lang kay GMA, papasok kay ABS-CBN. And ito namang si ABS-CBN pala, lumalabas dun sa sa investigasyon sa Kongreso, ay foreign funded. 'Di ba? Tumatanggap sila ng PDR. So, they were competing with the small radio stations all over the country whose only point of existence was sustained by the rules that were there na hindi na sinunod later on. And then, hindi na rin sinunod yung capital requirements. Ano nangyari? Siyempre, walang pasweldo, di ba? Sa probinsya. So, kung walang pasweldo yung istasyon, may reporter ka, anong mangyayari? Tatanggap yan kay Gob.
Oo, para magkapera naman.
Oo, magkapera naman.
Magpapropaganda na lang.
At kung sino yung kalaban ni Gob, titirahin niya.
Mayayari
Kasi hindi siya naman tatanggap eh.
Mm.
And then you will have now the Ampatuan Maguindanao massacre. And that is the height of all of this situation. I don't know. I left media because of that. Because I was arguing with them na mali itong expansion nyo sa probinsya. There are, what? Yan, si KBP. Ilan ba membro ng KBP, pre? Yan? Nakalagay ba yan? Wala. 100 plus? O, ano daw yun? Ano makikita natin dyan about that? Broadcasting in the Philippines should be assured.
Yan yung preamble. Yan yung mga reasons why they made
broadcasting
it.
in the
By the way,
Philippines.
this is not a law.
This is not that.
This is not a law. This is a code of conduct. This is a code of conduct, which is made
Equivalent
by
to
convention, by consent of private entities like the broadcasting networks of that time when it was made. So this is actually just a contract between members, among the members of the KBP. It's not a
but it is actually.
Ang batas ang sinasabi is ang batas na sinasabi ang KBP whatever it comes up as part of its rules and regulations that
will be adopted by the NTC
to its members will be respected by
law.
law.
Adopted by the NTC.
NTC.
It's supposed to be adopted by the NTC and supposed to be, again, hindi na naman sinunod yung batas. So si GMA, by leaving the KBP, they left the KBP. Yun yung pinanggalingan niya. Yan mismo na yan. They left the KBP. That's why GMA now is not a member of the KBP and not following any of these rules. But in terms of the ethics of broadcasting, which is also there, wala naman ako masasabi. Sumusunod sila doon. But on the advertising, which is the economic regulatory part of broadcasting, which is the one that actually kills your competition. When you kill the other players in that field, now you will have a monopoly of ideas. And
but that is even more importantly, yung pangatlo.
Ano yun? That broadcasting, because of its immediate and lasting impact on the public, demands of its practitioners a high sense of responsibility, morality, fairness, and honesty at all times. Yun. And that broadcasting has an obligation to uphold the properties and customs of civilized society, maintain the
Yeah.
respect of the rights and sensibilities of all people, preserve the honor and sanctity of the family and home, protect the sacredness of individual dignity, and promote national unity. Yun yung sinasabi natin.
Yan yung rason kung bakit ginawa ni Marcos kanina. Binasa natin. Alamang yan yung rason. Bakit? Kasi ang mass media ay may epekto sa psyche ng mga tao na nakakapakinig, nakakapanood nito. Ilang mga
Hmm.
programa, ilang mga sinasabi dyan.
Hmm.
Because information, it impinges our minds and
Hmm.
it conditions us
Hmm.
into acting accordingly to the things that we know. So,
Okay.
mass media ay binobroadcast tayo araw-araw na maganda manood ng Pornhub, magiging mabuting bagay yan para sa mga Pilipino. Okay?
Oh, ha?
So,
Ano ulit?
merong pag-iingat na dapat gawin
Oo.
ang bansa, ang gobyerno ng bansa tungkol yan sa mass media. Kasi,
Hindi, meron na eh.
what they
Ipapatupad
do
na. Oh.
can affect how the citizens of an entire nation will behave and will develop their culture. Di ba?
Ah.
So, delikado. May malaking delikado dyan sa kanilang produkto. Kaya,
Oo.
kailangan daw mangialam ang batas, ang bansa dyan, ang gobyerno. Yan yun.
Okay. Ang sabi, no,
Hmm.
about that, along what you're saying, dito sa case na sinimulan natin kanina, the test for limitation on freedom of expression continues to be the clear and present danger rule. Okay, that words are used in such circumstances and are of such a nature as to create a clear and present danger that they will bring about the substantive evils that the lawmaker has the right to protect or to prevent. Okay,
Hmm.
and then broadcasting, okay, compared to print, huh, has to be licensed. Airwave frequencies have to be allocated among qualified users. A broadcast corporation cannot simply appropriate a certain frequency without regard for government regulation and for the rights of others. All forms of communication are entitled to broad protection of the freedom of expression clause. Necessarily, however, the freedom of television and radio broadcasting is somewhat lesser in scope than the freedom accorded to newspaper and print. So, ibig sabihin, dito sa
Sa lahat
desisyon na
ng
to,
uri ng mass media, sa
ang
lahat ng uri ng mass
pinaka-stricto,
media,
pinagka-ini-strictuhan ay yung radio and TV. Yung
broadcast.
yung mga nakasulat which is what social media is, ha? Hindi, ito baka
Broadcast na rin siguro to eh.
okay, sabi ha. What is the difference, no? Confronted with a patently offensive and indecent regular radio program, explain why radio broadcasting, more than other forms of communication, receives the most limited protection from the free expression clause. First, broadcast media have established a uniquely pervasive presence in the lives of all citizens.
Yan.
Material presented over the airwaves confronts the citizens not only in public but in the privacy of his home.
Yes.
Second, broadcasting is uniquely accessible to children. Kaya hindi tayo broadcast. Okay? We do not go into materials through things. Kasi ang broadcast, wala kang kailangan connection sa internet.
Ang ibig po sabihin ng broadcast ay free.
Hindi siya
to
nasa stop.
air.
To be received. Okay?
So it's blasted out to all direction, okay, from the antenna of the transmitter, and whoever is there with that receiver will receive it.
And look, even movies. So baka doon tayo mag-fall, ha? Bookstores and motion picture theaters may be prohibited from making certain materials available to children, but the same selectivity cannot be done in radio or television. where the listener or viewer is constantly tuning in or out. Similar considerations apply in the area of national security. National security, ito importante. The
Mm.
broadcast media have also established uniquely pervasive presence in the lives of all Filipinos.
Mm.
Newspapers and current books are found only in the metropolitan areas and in the poblaciones of municipalities, accessible to fast or regular transportation. Even here, there are low-income masses who would find the cost of books, newspapers, and magazines beyond their humble means.
Yes.
Basic needs like food and shelter perforce enjoin their priorities. So,
Mm.
the clear and present danger test will only apply to broadcast. Ibig sabihin, okay, the government has a right to be protected against broadcast which incite the listeners to violently overthrow it. But that does not apply to print. Sabi ha? Okay, radio and television may not be used to organize a rebellion or to signal the start of a widespread uprising. At the same time, the people have a right to be informed. Radio and television would have little reason for existence if broadcasts are limited to bland, obsequious, and or unpleasantly entertaining utterances, since they are the most convenient and popular means of disseminating varying views to the public. They also deserve special protection. Now, kinumpare nila to dun sa nakasulat na material na pwede niyang ibaba ng tao at hindi niya basahin or hindi niya or may time siya na basahin ulit. But unlike broadcast, like this one, pwede mo itong ibalik Pwede mo itong
Tama
i-rewind,
nun.
pwede mo itong di ba? Pwede mo siyang ulit-ulitin at i-analyze. But broadcast is not like that. Hindi mo
Ephemeral.
pwedeng i-rewind yung TV. Di ba?
Ephemeral din
Once the idea, kumbaga yung level of attention mo is such that you are ready to receive that idea into your mind. Unlike here, they know that
Even if
they
you
can
don't
just
understand it.
yes, kumbaga the tendency is when you are watching TV, your attention there is really to be attached and listen because you know that it will not be repeated. You cannot go back. Di ba? So whatever is communicated to you goes into your brain and goes into your
Directly.
mm,
And it enjoys the it enjoys the presumption of truth.
mm. Ano
Kasi
sabi dito sa
mm,
ano sabi ni ano sabi ni Maria Reza?
naman
The
sabi ni
mi-
Maria Reza.
dito to, can independent media survive the Philippines? Iba yung narrative niya. True
Anong
life,
narrative? Ay,
share mo, para di ba? Yun.
yan. So makikita natin ngayong broadcast, TV at saka radio
Is a difference.
na i-broadcast ay ibang klase itong nilalang
Oo.
na kailangan talagang may proteksyon ang taong bayan laban sa mga unscrupulous na broadcaster.
Napapansin nyo kami ni Ahmed pag nandoon kami sa tambayan? Iba kami magsalita, di ba? Limitado. hindi hindi kami ganito ka-open. Kasi alam namin ito kayang intindihin, kayang namnamin at leisure.
At saka
Sino
pwedeng
to?
i-review. Pwede nating
Oo.
sabihin na hindi yan yung dapat tamang interpretation. Balikan natin, i-rewind
Oo.
mo. Pakinggan mo ang sinasabi niyan before that part. Tingnan mo ang sinasabi at tingnan mo ang after that because that's context. Sa TV at saka sa radio, walang ganyan.
Kaya yung mga segments niyan is very very kumbaga putol-putol, dapat complete thought yan, otherwise it will lead to misinformation. Kaya they're so experts on that one that yung 30 seconds lang na advertisement nabentahan ka na ng hamburger. Diba? Napabili ka na. And that's why they
Yes.
di ba? Napabili ka na sa
No, yan na, bilis-bilis, di ba?
ba't nabentahan ka na doon? So, ano to sabi niya? Sabihin niya o ibabalita maaring paniwalaan ng nakararaming nakapanood. Paano po kung may mali sa balitan nila? Paano sila abusuhin ng mali? Yun nga ang sinasabi natin dito. Di ba?
gumawa si Marcos ng ganong batas.
Na dapat
81.
Pilipino lang ang merong karapatang magtayo niyan dito kasi una, no, ang hirap kayang i-distinguish yan kung kunwari hindi mo alam na yung message pala na binibigay sa'yo is a deliberate lie. Hindi mo malalaman.
Not only that, isipin mo na ang gumagawa niyan ay kano o ibang bansa.
Oh,
Na kung anong sinasabi niyan kahit na sa salitang Tagalog o Filipino o Bisaya, ay hindi mo alam na ang taong gumawa nitong messaging na to ay hindi Pilipino. Kung ang kanyang hangarin ay papaniwalain ng bawat isang nakikinig
na Pilipino siya.
Wala naman palang silbi itong kultura natin.
Mm.
Dahil wala naman tayong historya. Hindi natin alam kung saan tayo galing. Ano ba to? Migration ba to? Galing ba tayo sa mga negrito? Ano?
So hindi na siya healthy discourse.
Kaya maganda. Naniniwala na ngayon yung mga tao. Paano yan pagka dumating na ngayon yung armed forces ng taong yon dito?
Tama.
Ipaglaban pa ba natin? Bansa natin? Hindi na.
Tama si Luna. So mas reserved kami doon. Kasi broadcast yun. Hindi kami pwede magkamali doon.
Pwede magkamali.
Hindi. Ibig sabihin, mas malaki yung potential consequence kung kunwari nagsasabi kami ng mga bagay na hindi sure, no? Doon sa broadcast. Or at the same time, hindi lang siya hindi sure, yung mali talaga. No? So you have to be certain of what you say and you'd rather say, hindi ko alam yan. Magtanong ka na lang dun sa co-host mo kaysa magdadadada ka. Kaya mapansin mo sa karambola, di ba? Ganun sila, yung tatlong matatanda doon na di ba? Kasi hindi ka pwede talaga sa broadcast na padalos-dalos ka dyan. Okay? But, in print, in our blogs, iba ang standard. Hindi pwede yung absolute precision na parang doktor na mamamatay yung pasyente kapag nagkamali ka. Oh. Katulad yung paano ka tinake down namin yung dahil sa date, malinaw naman dahil hindi malinaw yung date. Nag-repost siya ng isang bagay na galing last year. Tapos false, misleading daw dahil yung date na nanggaling nandoon naman sa harapan. Pero hindi pwedeng ganon. Kasi sabi ng Supreme Court, hindi kailangan ganun ka-precise, but look at broadcast. Broadcast even acknowledges in their preamble na we have a certain responsibility here na hindi siya, So the law and the broadcast industry natin, at the very least, the KBP the KBP is composed of 100 plus owners of radio and TV stations all over the country. There are only a few.
Distinguish natin. Ang KBP po, ang mga miyembro po niyan ay yung mga may-ari ng radio stations, may-ari ng franchise. Hindi yan yung mga announcer. Hindi yan yung mga anchor, yung mga talent dyan. Hindi yan sila miyembro ng KBP. Yung istasyon
they are just accredited. They're just accredited talents in KBP.
Kasi ang miyembro ng KBP ay yung franchise holder.
In fact, pag nawala yung franchise mo, hindi ka na pwede maging member. Okay? So, mas may kalayaan tayo dito. Opo, tama. And we are able to discuss here more extensively and more openly and without any fear. Kasi, supposedly. At even in Facebook's policy, di ba, nabasa natin kahapon, pinoprotect ni Facebook tong ganitong klaseng usapan. Ang hindi malinaw saan nanggaling yung pag-iisip ng ating mga implementor dito sa Pilipinas. Sila yung bumibira sa atin, di ba? So that is now becoming clearer na itong mga pinagsasabi namin ni Ahmed, yung mga kasamahan nating nagrereklamo sa may basis siya in theory, may basis siya in law, and may basis siya in declarations made by the institutions that we are working with. But the problem is not with the law, is not with the theory, but with the people who are alam mo yun?
Enforcing it.
Appropriating into themselves a different set of standards. Yun yung problema natin. So,
Not only that, the intention, the objective why they do that. The objective why
yun.
they fact check. Kasi fact
Mm-mm.
checking for the sake of fact checking is noble. It is never wrong. But when you fact check because you want
To
to silence
silence.
certain ideas
Ah,
and to highlight certain other ideas,
yun.
mali na yun. Kasi hegemony na ang hinahabol niyan.
Ah,
Sila na lang ang maririnig at yung mga nag-oppose na ideas doon ay hindi na maririnig. Freedom pa ba yan?
mm,
Freedom pa ba yan?
yan. Okay? So, ang ating ano dito, ang ating challenge is not really to not really to propagate or lalo na sa inyo, no? Paubayan nyo na sa amin yung pagpropagate kung sa palagay nyo ay ano, but you can help us a lot in that by just spreading these ideas and not believing yourselves na this kind of thinking that we are trying to open up yung ating mga kababayan is actually right. This is what the law says, this is what the ano. Kaya lang kagaya nung ano nung kami ni Ahmed, we started exposing yung mga yung mga katago-tago ng mga sikreto ng ABS-CBN while they were in Congress. Binubulgar namin sa radyo. Okay? And it triggers some congressman into finding
Do something.
finding background research, and then nga no, and then they bring that up there. Where did that lead?
Nagsasalita kami ngayon, bukas, sinasabi na nila sa hearing.
And sometimes nga we have to slow down kasi alam mo yun, we don't want to, hindi naman natin pwedeng pangunahan masyado. But ang punto dyan is kapag meron kasing player dyan sa industriya upon whom the law, our culture, and ourselves, tayo mismo, have placed so much trust and confidence na hindi tayo lolokohin. Di ba? All the more the responsibility kapag may alam tayo na sinanigan na nangyayari, di ba? Na we have to fight back. We have to fight back.
Pero isipin mo, tama yung sinasabi ngayon na naintindihan na natin ang nature ng broadcast media, na ito ay constantly impinging into the psyche of every Filipino in this country, kahit na in private or in public. Isipin mo, kung yung binobroadcast sa atin gabi at araw at habang natutulog tayo ay huwag kayang maniwala sa gobyerno, sinungaling yan. Yung mga desisyon ng korte niyan, mali yan. Magnanakaw yan sila.
Okay.
Wala ng proof. Pag inulit-ulit sa'yo yan, ang messaging ng mga pinalita nila sa kanilang broadcast ay ganyan lagi, ay maniniwala na yung buong Pilipinas.
Yes.
Na nakakarinig dyan.
And ito yung ito.
Sige,
ito sabi niya ito, galing naman ito sa Supreme Court The broadcast media is subject to regulatory regime absent in print media. Is observed also in the other jurisdictions where statutory regimes in place over broadcast media include elements of licensing, regulation by administrative bodies, and censorship. Okay, as explained by a British author. The reason behind treating broadcast and films differently from the print media differ in a number of respects but have a common historical basis. The stricter system of controls seems to have been adopted in answer to the view that owing to their particular impact on audience, films, videos, and broadcasting require a system of prior restraint, whereas it is now accepted that books and other printed media do not. Okay? And these media are viewed as beneficial to the public in a number of respects, but are also seen as a possible source of harm. Okay? So, hindi siya dapat natin paniwalaan hook, line, and sinker na dahil nanggaling yan sa TV or nanggaling yan sa isang MSM,
Totoo
matik
yan.
yan ay beneficial. Okay? But the
Halimbawa,
problem is,
sample.
Sample.
Maalala nyo yung ano? May alala nyo yung isang mall dito sa Metro Manila na ay nangyari dito sa isang mall doon sa amin sa Davao na chinismis at binabalita to siya noon sa radyo. Sa TV na pag-uusapan na meron daw kakambal na sawa.
So, ayun si...
Oo, yun. Kilala mo siguro yun eh. Na nasa ilalim daw yan ng mall. At kung ikaw daw ay magbibihis,
sa dressing room.
Nanataypan mo yung tontong. Sinukat mo ngayon doon, ikaw ay bigla na mahuhulog at kakainin ka na. So, ano nangyari? Di wala nang napunta doon sa mall na yun. Naghirap. Totoo yan o hindi, narinig yan araw-araw, iwas na sila doon. Iwas na sila doon sa mall.
Ito.
Wala ngayon na papi.
Ito. Paano kung ikaw ay nagsisimula pa lang na vlogger? Sinulat ka na dun sa kanilang fact-checking na ikaw ay sinungaling at
the misinformation.
Diba? So kayo, na hindi naman natin siya kilala, tayo, ano yan
Hindi na natin babasahin
yan. Hindi na natin yan siya babasahin, hindi na siya papansinin. Di ba?
Tama ba yan ganyan?
So,
sinabi natin sa nauna natin mga programa dito sa Luminous Live na bago tayo gumawa ng paghusga o ang pag-kritisismo o konklusyon tungkol sa isang tao o sa kanyang ugali, bago tayo humusga, kailangan nating alamin ang kanyang sinasabi, ang konteksto ng kanyang sinasabi. Bago natin masabi na sila ulo to taong to, demonyo to. Prejudice, di ba? Iiwasan natin yung prejudice. We do not prejudge people before learning the facts about that person in relation to the issue that you want to judge him on. Pero, kapag ang binabanat sa'yo sa internet, sa TV, sa radyo, yung mga vloggers ay mga misinformation na channels yan sila.
Sources.
Kasi facts yan eh. Facts para sa karamihan ng tao ang sinasabi sa news. Broadcast news. Facts yan. So, facts na to eh. So, pwede ko nang husgahan yan. Ano kung hindi totoo yung facts na yan?
Yeah.
So, nanghusga ka ng tao based on false facts.
On true lies. Based on true lies. Or lies true?
Yun yung masama. Yun yung masama. Yun yung ginagawa nila sa atin. Sabihin na yung mga vloggers na yan ay mga mahihirap, supporter ni Marcos, hindi yan sila nag-college, hanggang high school lang yan sila. Ay nagsabi nito ay news reporter daw kuno ng isang real estate company. Ay, naniwala yung mga tao, marami. Suddenly, naging bobo kaming dalawa ni JP.
Okay.
Pero kung titignan nila yung transcript namin, ang mga grado namin parang ni roller.
Teka, Judicat, alam mo, you are right. Itong pangalawa mong pinost na it is important. However, ang problema natin dyan kasi Teka. Bubuksan ko lang. Saan ko ba makikita? Magbubukas na ako ng isang report na yung sa akin na. Makikita mo, hindi lang to sa akin, pati sa Luminous. Yung aming meron kasi silang restriction sa circulation ng ating materials na pinupost. Halos hindi na makaikot sa inyo, sa labas sa inyo.
400 nga hirap na kami.
Mm.
Dati, libo-libo yung nakakapasok sa atin.
That is a
Ngayon,
form of silencing.
grabs na nga yung 1,000 na eh. 1,000 na
Ang
reaction.
hirap. Oo. Ano ba yun? Ano ba
Halata,
sinabi ko?
malinaw, halata na may ginagawa sila.
So, this thing that we're discussing here is actually this is very deceptive yung ginagawa nila, no? Because we are made to think that everything is just okay, it's the same. Wala naman silang sinasabi that we are restricting your circulation, di ba?
Wala.
And then we just noticed now, bakit tong post ko dati naman isang post ko 100,000 ang reach ito, ngayon bakit maswerte na ako kung umabot ng 15, di ba?
Nakapagtataka.
Tapos makita ko pati yung post ni Ahmed, mas mataas pa yung circulation, ganun din, what's going on? And then we look at our graphs, oh my God,
What happened?
it's happening on everything that we post. Diba?
Suddenly, people who, kahit nabilangin lang natin itong mga taong to, 122 tayo bawat post natin, swerte na to eh.
Swerte
Pero
na.
even if people do not see our posts immediately, siguro mga 3 days after or a week after nila makikita.
Yung nga isa kanina nagsabi, wala daw siyang notif. Di ba? So, even you're not being notified. You're following us, you're reading us, you like to see what's the latest na ipopost namin, but you do not get it. You can't get it. Because their system will stop it from reaching you. Di ba? Because they say, we are sources of disinformation.
Ang sinasabi ni Ingli, tingnan mo.
Ano yun? Pati...
Now, that is not only, that is even more serious.
Yes.
Kasi may business na yan. Tapos i-restrict mo for 90 days na for some, unknown reason.
And they have tagged us all as, di ba sa rules na binasa natin kahapon, the reason why they can restrict the circulation of certain people is when they are threatening harm or are known to be associated with a group that causes harm, physical harm or violence. So saan nila tayo nilink dun sa isang tao na pumatay ng 30,000 na kinakasuhan sa ICC?
May proof ba doon?
Kaya nga, why are we associated now as people who have the tendency to cause harm? Because that is based on Facebook rules. That is the only reason why you can be restricted circulation. Because what you're saying is not really harmful, but you are associated with a person or a group that is known to cause harm, you can be restricted circulation based on Facebook rules.
At tinanong mo kung sino yung mga taong yun na-relate tayo, ay hindi naman nila mapoprove kung anong harm causes known to be causing harm to people.
Or anong relasyon natin kay Duterte, for example.
Kaya merong narrative na bayaran yan sila. But when you say, prove it, na binabayaran kami ng gobyerno. They don't listen. I mean, completely ignore that. What happened to facts? When we, diba?
And when you listen to all, if you summarize everything that we say all throughout these how many years, you will notice one common denominator. All that we're saying is we support the government, we support society.
The lawfully
constituted
government of this country.
Let's build trust.
Constitution and the laws.
We build the trust on those things, and then they now see in their own study that yes, people are really gaining trust. Di ba dun sa ating pinakitang graph na sila ang gumawa, tumataas yung trust ng tao sa gobyerno, and they see that as a problem.
That is a really bad thing for democracy.
Di ba?
Who is causing? If you bring it to logic, pure logic, kasi there is no democracy without law. Okay? Democracy that does not owe its existence and maintenance to a certain kind of law or constitution does not exist. It's not democracy.
Anarchy yun. Anarchy. That's called
It's not
anarchy.
democracy. So now, how can
Oh,
a group of so-called journalists and press people say first that they have rights under a constitutional system of government? They have rights. There is democracy, and this democracy that they're talking about gives them this freedom of the press, while at the same time, saying that there are people here also who do not have those rights under this constitution that we are deriving our own rights.
yan
Those
yung
people, they
sinasabi.
do not have rights. They
Oh,
do not have rights, and if they agree with the government, okay, that is not good for democracy. And
mm,
if these people are talking about the propriety or the correctness of the law as applied to certain things like Teresa, that is wrong. That is dangerous for democracy.
and
Oh,
now we see that we have seen it yesterday that officially there are only two organizations which has this power done here in the Philippines, and that is just Verifiles and Rappler.
yung Philstar, they
Yeah,
tried, but they
wala ba?
fucked it up by
Oh,
saying wrong things.
okay. And Verifiles is duly represented in the board of the world's that board, yung IFCN, fact checkers. So meron silang tao doon. So they're not yung deprived na Pilipino sa isang international body. No, they're very powerful there. And they have actually supplanted their own ideology into the rules that they are supposed to be implementing. So, yun yung threat sa ating topic na kung gusto nating mag-unite yung ating, di ba, panawagan ng ating gobyerno is mag-unite. Di ba? Unity. Ano mo magagawa yan when in the middle of all us, you have this very disruptive, very pervasive media environment that does not allow that unity to happen.
Yes.
Di ba?
And what does it mean when they say that democracy exists and that they should defend it?
Mm.
What does it mean?
Mm.
What
Ano
does
nun, that kung democracy is?
democracy
Democracy
exists and
is
it's
dead?
under attack?
Oh,
It's in danger.
it's in danger nga daw. But the
And they
danger
should
that they're
defend it.
talking about, okay, they don't see is actually them. They are the danger.
Isipin
Di
mo,
ba?
at, in the same breath, I'm saying that they derive their rights to say these things from a democracy that exists. They also say that the people who actually support this democracy and support the government that maintains this democracy are dangerous to democracy. What the fuck?
And not only that, yung trajectory ng okay, the reason why I was pointing you at those fact checking sites, okay, is for you to review. And if you see something na talagang okay, there are stuff there which are actually just wrong. Okay, fine. But who would be endangered by Jason's declaration that Sara Duterte is the first mayor to become vice president? And of course, that's factually wrong. Okay, but whose safety will be endangered by that?
Whose
Diba?
rights are
Who's
violated
oh,
by a mistake?
by that by that simple mistake, like ako kanina, no, I made a mistake about the year when the Hilo Garcia happened, but di ba, did that violate your rights? Did that endanger your life in one way or
Or did
another?
it
But
actually cause you damage?
oh,
Oh, si
my
Mukausod.
mm,
Sinabi niya, ang Mayon volcano is somewhere elsewhere other
mm,
than Albay.
Legazpi.
Oh, edi tinawag siya ngayong fake news peddler at kinasuhan sa ombudsman. Kinasuhan nila, tapos yung abogado ay awesome, kaya nilampaso sila doon. Dismiss lahat ng kaso nila.
Kaya nga. But in the meantime, they do the damage already. And what they're trying to damage is now the credibility of institutions. Okay? If you notice that series of criticisms I made in their fact-checking, okay, marami silang fact-checks na hindi ko pinapakialaman. But those things na nilagay ko dyan sa mga post ko, those are alam mo yun, binababa nila yung, isipin mo itong isa, presidente, si Harry Roque as the spokesperson of the president, they're all wrong. The senators who believed in the chairman of the Commission on Audit's testimony, they're all wrong. And even the chairman was also wrong about his own. No. The chairman himself of the Commission on Audit is wrong about how he conducts his office, because the Constitution says that he is supposed to do that, but fails to see that he is the only authority who sets what he is supposed to do. So who are you now to tell this person na mali ka when you are the one who is told by the Constitution na ikaw bahala kung anong gagawin mo?
Kung tama ka, ikaw ang magsasabi.
Yes, and these are professionals, ha? The rules of the rules in the Commission on Audit are done by very, very meticulous accountants. And I know accountants, how meticulous they are, how parang next to lawyers, yan yung mga pinaka-meticuloso sa kung anong kailangan gawin at hindi.
Mas meticuloso yan sila kaysa sa lawyers.
Tapos sasabihin ng isang reporter na mali ka, ma'am. Dapat ito yung ginawa nyo, kaya fact-check ko kayong lahat. Mali mula presidente pababa.
Even more importantly, yung Commission on Audit is a constitutional commission. It is not under any political power. It is not under the legislature. It is not under the executive or the judiciary. It is under the Constitution itself. Kaya
Yes.
tinatawag yan siya na Constitutional Commission at konti lang yan sila. COMELEC, COA, ano pa ba? Kasi yung commission na
indigenous people.
Hindi yan siya Constitutional Commission.
Okay. And if you will notice, in my criticism in this particular case, situation, I did not harp much about their criticism on the president, but I focused on their criticism on on the COA chairman, because he was the one who was executing an official function in this particular news. Because you can criticize a government official, you can attack his position if it is just an opinion, but not an official function. Because once itong mga fact-checking nila goes into alam mo yun, na-model na yung ating, hindi natin sinasabing kailangan sambahin natin yung lahat ng sinasabi ng opisyalis natin, hook, line, and sinker. Pag nagpapahayag sila ng opinion, yan yung sinasabi ng Supreme Court. Diyan natin kailangan pag-usapan. Opinion yan eh. Okay? Like in that case, si Duterte was saying his opinion na I believe that COA chairman. Di ba? Ang masasabi ko lang, kung hindi ka maniniwala dyan is, di ba, siya nga naniniwala sa COA chairman. He believes the COA chairman because at that point, that COA chairman was performing an official function, an official duty. Pati yung testimony na yun, kapag inilahad niya yan sa korte, paniniwalaan yan unless yung hindi maniniwala, ay ipapatunayan yun sa korte na mali yan. Siya mag-initiate, At
paano kung ang nagkikriticize sa iyo at nagtatawag sa COA commissioner na fake news, false misinformation yung sinasabi niya, ay hindi man lang expert, hindi man lang accountant yan.
Hindi talaga. Reporter nga lang eh.
Ano ang magiging epekto niyan? Anong magiging epekto niyan? Hindi lang hindi siya maririnig sa Facebook. Hindi lang na maraming tao ang hindi na maniniwala sa taong yan, yung specific person na yan na may pangalan.
Yung COA mismo ang mawawala.
Ang nangyari dyan, it erodes the people's confidence and trust in their own government. What do you
Yes,
call that? What do you call
inciting.
that?
Uh,
That isn't that a
incite.
scurrilous libel?
Oo.
Hmm.
Ay, Mariel, thank you, thank you. Yan, no? So, di ba? Yun yung, and they're silencing people who are calling them out. If you can really see my graph, hindi ko lang buksan eh. If you can see my graph of
Wala,
uh,
pabagsak eh. Galing doon na
distribution,
maganda.
it's a very, very nice curve. Especially when we started fighting back, ay, ang ganda na talaga.
It's a constantly
Oh, declining.
diminishing return.
Yeah, but we're not really concerned about, we're not concerned about
Income.
the,
We don't
because
even
ako,
get
we
any
don't,
income here.
it's not that, wala pa nga akong natatanggap dyan kasi hindi
Exactly.
nga umaabot sa minimum na kailangan ng Facebook para
Exactly.
bayaran yung bank charge para i-forward sa'yo yung 10 cents, di ba?
In any case, kahit na may income,
Oh,
i-tax nyo. Huwag nyo tahimikin.
oh.
I-tax nyo.
In fact, yun nga yung isang sinabi ko, di ba? Anong karapatan nyo na ipa-demonetize yung isang
Oh,
yung vlogger na binira nila tungkol dun sa kay Reza, di ba?
kagaya nitong sinasabi ni si Tatiana ba yung kanina, yung si Yingli, na yung
Mm.
business na page na
Mm.
attached sa kanyang itong personal account ay na restrict for 90 days. Business yan.
Mm.
Di ba? Vested right yan kasi di mo bawal
At wala
magnegosyo.
silang pakialam. Wala silang pakialam. Kung anong injury ang nakukos nila sa mga karapatan ng tao, sa negosyo ng tao, sa kanilang kredibilidad, nagagalit yung aso.
There is not only damage done to a individual citizen, a person, there's also damage being done to the trust and confidence and even the ability to trust their own government in every single one who gets to
Okay, and
read
then they have
what they're
already,
seeing.
the media has already succeeded in destroying the credibility of the church. Now they're destroying the credibility of their government or establishing their ascendancy over government. Count mga 20, 30 more years from now, then you will have a society ruled by
Idiocracy.
media. No, may mediocracy. Mediocracy.
Idiocracy. So,
Okay?
see?
Instead of having priests, you will have press.
And instead of having elected presidents, vice presidents, congressmen, senators, you have graduates of mass communication
Telling you what to do with your lives.
telling you what you do. And their only authority, source of authority is that they studied mass comm and they are reporting news.
And not only that, because studying mass comm or is not enough. You have to be a card-carrying member of their inner circle. Alam nyo, let me share with you something. Ako kasi, when I joined KBP at a very young age,
Ano
I
ka pa
didn't
nun,
just go
pare?
there.
Teenager ka pa nun?
No, mga 20-something. Okay? I represented there a network, a franchise holder, which is granted to a church, to a bishop. Okay?
Oh, and then church, a
And
corporation full.
a corporation sold. And the bishop was my uncle.
It doesn't matter if he's a bishop or he's part of the church of
Okay.
whatever religion.
But this,
He's a
but this is,
corporation soul.
but this is my point, ha? In the broadcast industry, if any one of you here are working, to be able to join the ranks of those who sit in that KBP, para yan siyang lugar ng mga prinsipe. Okay? And it is ruled like a council of Malaysia ng mga hari. And our broadcast industry is passed on, mana-mana yan. And the families that are owning these things, they have a certain culture there, which I do not want to talk about now, out of respect for these people, because most of them are good people. Okay, but there are really players there who are so damn outright
Evil.
Satan like Ahmed.
I'm
Oh,
kinder than
yeah,
those people.
yes, 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 yes. So with that, okay,
We've been
have you
giving
answered
back.
the question? Have you answered the question that we posed? Why does it have to be Filipino, and why is it so important for us people of the Philippines who want to unite and just make our lives better for our children? Like you see a beautiful daughter of mine. I'm like, show yourself. Hey,
And
they're
for a
beautiful.
government that is democratic to preserve
To succeed
democracy,
and just to succeed, di ba? To be
why?
able to.
Yeah, why?
It's not
This
working well.
limitation on
Ano,
ownership
wala.
of
Napali.
mass media
Yeah. Mm.
is there in the law.
And not only that, the broadcast media people are not as blatant as what this Maria Ressa is doing. Never ko pang nakita sa buong buhay ko yung ganito katinding
Lalang siya,
wala,
ganito.
wala, 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 wala,
Parang
walang katulad.
parang seems to me like the definition of a sociopath.
But hindi eh. Kasi tingnan mo kung sino mga kasamahan niya, di ba? Naalala mo ba yung mga kasamahan niya nung pinasyan natin?
Hmm.
Ha? Sino yung,
They are honorable.
okay,
Most,
the group includes, okay, Philippine Star, which if nothing has changed since the last article I read, okay, this is a disclaimer, nothing has changed since the last article I read written by Bobby Tiglao, who used to be a press secretary also. Philippine Star is still controlled by Manny P, who is related back to Midjardin, di ba? Oh.
hindi, yung
And,
salim.
yeah, sa Salim, okay. So, it's also foreign owned, okay, with the dummy. And, when we saw the logo of ABS-CBN there,
Oh, I remember seeing the logo
oh,
there.
and when you read the Rappler now, you will always see these people with the surname Hofilenya.
Yes.
And do you know that the middle name of our vice president, former vice president, is Hofilenya?
Former Vice President is this woman.
Salvador Lopez. No, Salvador Lopez.
Yung Vice President of
The only vice president who served 3 presidents. Oh, huh?
Powerful.
Kingmaker. The real kingmaker. Okay, so whatever this is they're trying to do, I think this is a formula which they did with broadcast before. To make broadcast
They're trying it
a
again.
higher at a higher ascendancy than government. This is what they did to Quirino. That's why
And
they
Marcos.
bought ABS-CBN from Quirino's brother.
Juicy.
Oh, di ba? They made
Baka that's why.
no. Kumbaga, this entire strategy, has been done before. And if you read McCoy, you will also see how the original brother Lopez's became so powerful way back in the 20s when they used their father's newspaper to attack yung mga negosyante sa Negros and sa Iloilo. They incited mga yung mga sugar workers, mga laborers into
Sakadas.
having rallies, blocking So, yung newspaper nila yung nag-feed ng mga nun. And then in the middle pa, they will broker deals. And that is how they got their political clout. Because these 2 brothers are not, okay, there are rich Lopezes in Iloilo. Like the family of Lopez Haina. Okay? Graciano Lopez Haina, they're not related. Okay? Those are the rich Lopezes in Iloilo. But now their wealth did not come from the old wealth, but this is new wealth. Okay? Be don't be fooled. Okay? So the pattern of using media to rise above the status, the hierarchy of society was done in the 20s when they succeeded. And then when they moved to Manila, they did it against presidents. And the first president that fell under this scheme was Quirino, the second president of the Republic. And they, basahin nyo yung, may pinost ako, nandiyan dyan sa wall ko ata malapit lang about Magsaysay. Because si Magsaysay ang nakinabang nun eh. So when he inaugurated the ABS-CBN, I think his speech is in my post there sa unahan. Nakikita nyo yan dyan na rights, naka-classify yun siya eh, rights something. Rights protection ata yung ano doon. Sama niya si Manny Pacquiao. So, read that speech. Magsaysay no what it was all about. And he was warning some people. He was warning the Lopezes. Okay? So, kumbaga, this has been done before. Rise above what is the president, the government, the institutions, lahat, sisirain nila para sila yung papaniwalaan ng tao. And doing this now with the RESA, this fact-checking thing, doing it with the academe. I've seen this before. You've seen this with Ahmed, Ronilla, and Renato Constantino. Okay? And now, yeah. No, si Agoncillo, iba yun. Iba yung si Agoncillo. So, did we answer your questions? Very interesting daw sabi ni Vivian Hickley. Yun nga, sana marami tayong nakakapakinig.
Mga ganitong bagay kasi it is not enough that we have an idea what democracy is. Mm-hmm. It is not enough that we just sway with the wind. When people talk about democracy or the death of democracy because of certain events, democracy doesn't die easily. Because it lives in every Filipino, in every citizen.
But it can
be pushed,
hijacked.
Okay, it can be pushed to the sidelines.
It can be infected with the virus.
Important. What is important is these people and what they're saying. And what they want.
And it's no longer democracy.
Remember the last names of these people because they are not only in mass media, they are also in
business,
electricity. They are also in malls. They are also in contracts.
In telecommunications.
Why na ganyan yan? Bakit nandyan din sila? Hindi mo makikita na maring ang ginagawa nila dito sa mass media ay
and banks.
May epekto doon. Ang bangko.
And banks. Okay.
May epekto doon sa mga negosyo nila. Isn't it possible that these activities in mass media would tend to ingratiate and enrich and perpetuate these businesses for the greater glory of their name?
Yeah. And that is what you call in sociology as neo-colonialism, when we become colonized by fellow Filipinos. Nice! So, music time.
How awesome is that? Music.
Music!